What is a dirty business tactic that you know and everyone should be aware of it? Giving someone a promotion just to get them back on a probationary period so they can be fired without cause or repercussion. Happened to my wife recently. They were able to twist some information to make her look bad enough to can, and with no risk of legal recourse, because she was on probation with her new position. Wife said they did the exact same thing to someone within the past year. Guy won Employee of the Year, was promoted and promptly fired. Holy inbox. Thanks for the replies and support. I'm doing my best to read everything and sneak responses in between work. I'll be sure to read everything later at home. And to the others that have had some variation of this happen to them, I said this in a reply somewhere below: success is the best revenge. Prove these people wrong by proving yourself right. 2. She had a phone interview this afternoon, her first interview since this all went down, and was asked to come in for a follow-up to meet them in person. Not out of the woods yet, but we are making progress. 3. Just wanted to clarify she held a US county government position, which makes the rules a little different when it comes to these situations. I don't want to get into any more detail about the field she worked in, but I can say that anything legal we could throw at them would not go well and could potentially blackball her from other positions in the county state. Them's the breaks. The you won a TV $5,000 base boat. Scams at car dealerships. Generally, you get a flyer in the mail that says scratch off X to see if you won. You always win the biggest prize, but when you read the fine print, you actually only win the right to spin some wheel or put your name in a box for a drawing. The employees' friends and family always actually get the boat TV cash. Your win is just a tactic to get you into the dealership. A fun thing to do is waste the manager's time. Go to the dealership, prize flyer in hand. Find a nice car, one with all of the options. Ask for every dealer ad on the offer and tell them you don't want to waste time negotiating. You have cash. Talk to the manager and keep going back to him/her. Insist on a test drive with the manager. Convince them you want to buy the car and get to the paperwork phase. Then, just before you sign, inform them that they haven't sold you a car. They've sold you on the idea of buying a car. Get the manager's card and tell them you'll be dropping their card in a hat with other dealership managers' cards. A card will be selected at random, and that dealership manager will be notified by mail in 4 to 6 weeks. Let them know that the actual car you buy may not be the one used in your promotion. Update: thank you, kind stranger. A local lawn maintenance business takes advantage of unsuspecting customers in 3 ways. 1. On monthly bills, they double the state tax. Instead of being, say, 6%, it'll actually be 12% if you check the math. 2. Without discussing it with home owners, they charge double for double cuts when the grass is a little taller in areas than usual. So, if you had agreed to pay $50 per mowing, the monthly bill says $100 for each visit. They never ask, they just do it and charge double in most cases. It's just a small patch of the yard that has taller grass, not the entire thing. 3. They're supposed to mow once per week, but without telling customers first, they start mowing every 5 days, which means they get to charge for more mowing visits per month than necessary. All of this sounds like it's illegal, especially the doubled state tax. First comment to get 1K karma. The sales tax issue is absolutely illegal, and in my state, will result in super hefty penalties if they get caught. If you ever notice irregularities with the sales tax you are being charged, keep the receipt and report it to your state's tax agency. When I was in the process of moving into my current home, I transferred the title of my old home and land to my sister because she was buying it and moving in when I left. Within the next few weeks she started getting all the welcome to the neighborhood coupons and flyers. She didn't even change her address, so I assume companies track title changes with the Register of Deeds. The sketchiest was a pest control company claiming to have an existing account on the property and recommending she continue to use their services. They detailed dates and changes, referenced termites. It was all lies. All the dates shown were while I owned the property, and I never even heard of this company before she received that letter. A word: 2 people are prying, and I don't want to give too much info, but this took place in North Carolina. I'm aware that title change is a public record, but I was surprised by the speed. The small town I live in can take up to 2 months to update their online public databases. Clearly there are ways to get the info I was not aware of. I feel like that one is one you should actually report to someone. In France it's hard to fire or lay off people, so when big companies need to clean house a bit, they move the office to a new location quite distant from the current one. In the process they reduce the office size from 50,000 seats to 30,000 because they've estimated that amount of people will resign rather than endure a 4 hours commute. But officially totally you still have your job if you want. We are not laying you off, but I need you in the office every day. Or you could resign if you don't like the new location. Nestle did that, and apparently it's fairly common now for multinationals around Paris. I suspect they end up keeping a huge amount of deadwood, while valuable employees who can easily find another job in the same area do so. Seems really dumb, unless you just desperately need to trim employees and you don't care about quality. But the bottom cell of the Excel sheet shows nice positive number. The CEO gets a nice bonus for that, and when he moves on to the next company, the new CEO can blame the predecessor and get bonus for fixing the mess with something similar. So it is win-win for the CEOs. Watch the ever-changing price of pre-packaged food goods at most grocery stores. One day the price may seem to go down, but if you check the weight, it has also gone down. Snack foods do this constantly. I like buying these breaded frozen chicken breast fillets at my local grocery store. Been buying them for a long time. They were $11.99 CDN for 908 grams 2 pounds. Last week they were $11.99 CDN for 750 grams 1.65 pounds or 1 pound, 10 ounces. That product just went up 21% in price. As you preparing to code pointed out, it's a 27% price increase, not 21%. Even worse. I want to say it was a peanut butter company that did this. They redesigned their package to have the bump in the bottom bigger. They basically reduced the amount of peanut butter by like 10-20%, but the size of the jar stayed the same so nobody noticed, and it was still the same price as before. Many companies claim to be environmentally friendly by putting made-up certifications on their products, like a frog in a circle that says rainforest friendly. There are very few legitimate environmental certifications. It's called greenwashing. A lot of people have been mentioning the Rainforest Alliance, which is a legitimate certification agency. What I was mentioning is that many companies will use a similar symbol with the frog, but not have the actual certification to back up their claims. There are many examples here. Basically, companies will claim certain aspects of their product to be environmentally friendly, but not have any type of certification to back them up, or they will claim something that their product already would have avoided. #2 Here is a link to some better examples. I was talking more in the realm of consumer products, but there are many other areas of greenwashing people have mentioned. Dunkin' Donuts uses energy efficient air blowers instead of disposable paper towels because we care about the environment. Yeah, it's also 13x cheaper. Debt collectors will have detectives call you from a number that appears to be a legitimate law enforcement agency. When you Google it, it's actually a spoofed caller ID using a legitimate agency's fax number. The detective will threaten arrest and throw around names of local judges. The debt collector will claim to not know the detective who left the message, but will be willing to take care of your debt. Time, yes, it's illegal, but it's very hard to prove, and that's why they do it. Law enforcement or courts will only call you in the case of theft like a hot check, but will never call for an old debt. It's civil and they don't have jurisdiction. I think my phone has a bad connection. Let me call you right back on the department number. What's your name badge, so I can get the recept to direct me back to you? Do this for everything, even on seemingly innocuous stuff, especially if your bank's fraud department is calling you and asking questions. This is illegal, FYI. They still do it, but if you can manage to prove it, they're in for a world of hurt. Mechanics and other car servicing places will often put many additional tasks replacements on your bill, or imply that you should do things immediately. While many of their recommendations are things to keep in mind, often the tasks they are talking about are not immediately necessary, and can be put off for a while before there is an issue. This in no means is me saying that you shouldn't regularly take your car for servicing. Took my car for an oil change, tire rotation, and they recommended some services that were immediately necessary based on the condition of the vehicle, and said I should have had it all done at 10k miles and that now the tires are worn and there's build up somewhere in the engine or whatever. I'm no mechanic. I said no, my car only has 7k miles on it and there's absolutely no way it has all those issues. In fact, I was having it serviced at the dealership where I bought it only like 1 year prior. Build up in the engine. Oh, so you took my engine apart in the 45 minutes you took to change my oil? In Nova Scotia, Canada, severance pay is paid on the average of your last 30 days of pay. This means that some companies will actually reduce your hours to minimum your last month with them if they are going to lay you off. Happened to me wife. She worked for this company for 5 years, worked 35 plus hours per week. Suddenly she wasn't getting shifts. Boom. Layoff notice. Happened to other folks too. Call the labor board. IDK about in Nova Scotia, but here in Ontario that's illegal. Even if she quit because she wasn't getting enough hours due to them reducing it, she'd still be entitled to pay. They cannot reduce your hours by more than a certain percent each week. Can't remember the percent, can tell you I have fought this and won. This is known as constructive dismissal, where the terms of your employment change so drastically that the labor board considers it equivalent to being fired. You should be entitled to employment benefits based on the hours prior to your constructive dismissal. I worked in the collections department of Discover Card for a while. One thing they did, maybe still do, to lure customers to them is offer 0% APR for the first year. People would jump on this and transfer all their debt onto their new Discover Card, and then the company would conveniently not send the first month's bill. In the fine print of the agreement, it states that if you miss even one payment in that first year, your APR will jump to 29.95%. Half of my calls were to these new customers who would then proceed to throw a fit because they didn't ever get the bill, and I had to explain to them that it was their job to know when the bill was due, and sending one was just a courtesy extended by the company. I hated that job. It ate away at my soul. In the US, the Federal Card Act in 2010 made it a requirement to send a bill 21 days before the due date. If this was after that, they weren't just being slimy, but straight up illegal.